Dear students, dear alumni, dear parents, dear friends, Pesach is a time of renewal. The Torah says in Parshat Re'eh, Shamor et Chodesh HaAviv va'asita Pesach la'Hashem Elokecha. Observe the month of Aviv, Shamor et Chodesh HaAviv, and make a Pesach for Hashem your God. Pesach must always occur in the spring. This is the basis, the Gemara in Rosh Chana tells us, for the fact that the Sanhedrin is responsible to create a leap year in order to synchronize the solar and lunar calendars. The solar calendar is 365 days, as we all know. The lunar calendar is 11 days fewer than that. If we were not to add a month every 3 years, then Pesach would not remain in the spring. It would be like the Muslim calendar, where their holidays float from year to year. But we are responsible, the Sanhedrin is responsible as the arm of the Jewish people, to keep Pesach in the spring. Many of the women of my mother's generation associated spring cleaning with Pesach, and perhaps that still is the case. It's springtime, and there needs to be a newness, there needs to be a freshness. Here in Israel, people very often paint their homes before Pesach, and it has to do with this general feeling of renewal, of freshness. This is a time for things to be sorted, for that which is going to be put aside, for that which is going to remain front center, to be placed on a clean table, front center. That's part of what goes on in the physical preparations, but not just the physical, the spiritual preparations. There's something very beautiful, very powerful in the synchronization of what goes on in our religious calendar with what goes on in the larger world around us. Things are beginning to bloom. Here in Israel, we've budded already for most of our trees, or many of our trees, but the trees are still bringing out buds. There's a flowering that always takes place in the springtime, and it's so beautiful. When we read Shir HaShirim on Pesach, we read about the blooming of the blooming of nature, the birds flying over us. It's springtime, spring is in the air. Something new is happening in the soul as well. That's Pesach. And Reb Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin ties this into what goes on in the Seder. He says, the Seder is based upon question and answer. We know we can't begin the Seder until Mozgim lo kos sheni v'kan ben shoel. That's what the Mishnah says. We pour the second cup of wine prior to the beginning of the Haggadah, after we make Kiddush, and drink the first cup. But before we begin the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, we pour the second cup, and here is when the child asks the 4 questions. And if there's no child at the Seder, anyone can ask those 4 questions. And if we're alone on an island, then we were to ask ourselves the 4 questions. But we can't begin V'higadata, you shall tell, without a question. Rav Tzadok wants to know why. And he says, actually, it's embedded in the Seder in more than one place. After we read Mishnat Rabban Gamliel, we say, Pesach zeh she'anu ochlim al shumma, or Pesach she'hayu avotenu ochlim al shumma, the Pesach offering that our fathers ate. Why did they eat? We don't say the Pesach offering that our fathers ate, we eat because, or they ate because, or this maror we eat because. We say, this maror, why do we eat? We eat because. This matzah, why do we eat? We eat because. A question and an answer. Reb Tzadok says that's what creates the sense of renewal. The fact that a question comes from left field where we didn't expect it, and we need to organize ourselves anew. This isn't just an intellectual exercise. This is something that goes on in the spirit. We face new situations, and we ask ourselves new questions. And from within our religious DNA, we find the answers. That's what V'higadet Levincha is about. That's what telling the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim is about. And this year, Pesach falls before the 75th anniversary of the State of Israel. We're answering the big questions. We must answer the big questions from within our religious DNA. Our religious DNA is based upon the first story of Geula, the first story of redemption, the story of redemption from Egypt, the story of the covenantal relationship between God and the Jewish people, between the Jewish people and God. That's our story. It's the story of all that we bring to the world. It's the story of our religious heritage, but more than that, our religious relationship with God. It's our past, it's our present, it's our future. So here we are going into Pesach, but we're also about to go into the story of the biggest miracle of our own lives, the State of Israel. Not the story just of Bayamim Hahem Basman Hazeh, in those days at this time. It's also the story of God's providential relationship with us. It's no secret, as we're going into our 75th year, that not all of the challenges that the Jewish people face have been solved. We face challenges from without, we face challenges from within. Pesach is the time that we recover the strength to face those challenges. We're experiencing a sense of renewal, a sense of connecting with the past. It's not a sense of birth, it's a sense of renewal. Renewal is different from birth. Birth takes place once. Renewal is when we connect to our beginnings, but then we go forward again. And my prayer for us, my tefillah for us, as we go into Pesach, is that each of us will feel this sense of renewal, this sense of Chodesh HaAviv. The word Chodesh comes from Chidush. Chodesh itself means renewal of the cycle. That's us, the Jewish people. And my tefillah for us is that this should permeate to the soul of each and every Jew, that we connect to our national DNA and our personal spiritual DNA on Leil HaSeder, and we strive forth with the strength of our entire heritage towards Yom HaAtzmaut, the 75th anniversary in our beloved state. I wish all of our students, our beloved alumni, and all our dear, dear friends, a Chag Kasher V'Sameach.